When I was asked to look at this amplifier, I really had a feeling of déjà vu, and it it wasn't really déjà vu because I had actually looked at it before. In fact, it appeared on my workshop desk exactly 4 years ago, just around anyway, about 4 years ago, and suddenly I realized that it was real. It wasn't a déjà vu situation at all. So the fault this time was similar, but I was able to look back through my record of repairs and indeed a YouTube video which I made at the time, and the opening screenshot I've showed you now. So let's have a look at it and find out why it's back again. The problem last time was speaker thud when the machine was first turned on, and a delay. Also, there was quite a lot of distortion on both channels. I found that the problem there was a dirty contact in the speaker protection circuit and in the selector switch for Class A and normal operation. So let's go back to the workshop and have a little look at what the problem is this time. Here I am back in the workshop again, and don't want that glaring at you, do you? And I've taken the amplifier to bits in as much as I removed the case, taken the front panel off, and removed the selector switch for normal operation and Class A operation, and cleaned the contacts thoroughly once again. Now this fault was very similar to what it was 4 years ago, and that it was clunking, but this time when you turn the speakers on, but this time sometimes it also distorted, and I traced it down, and because it was so similar, I dug out the service manual that I printed out last time, and would you believe that out of the service manual I got my report that I did last time, saying that the Class A normal switch on the board was not working properly and not supplying some of the AC voltage which comes from the secondary of the power transformer to the power boards, to the power supply board, to convert it to the necessary DC voltages. Also, this switch not only supplies AC when you switch it to Class A, but it also alters the bias. There's some bias switching that carries on when you change from normal operation, which in this case is Class AB, to Class A, which is that way. So because it was so similar, I got to thinking that there might be a link, and there is actually a link which I'll explain later on, and that is because it's switching AC, it can cause arcing on the terminals in the micro switches, and it can also cause difficulties in supplying the AC, because it is switching AC which causes arcing. Now it is a weakness with this machine that these micro switches fail. Now I don't want to replace them at this stage, because I believe what I've done and the cleaning I've done is going to make it okay. I've also listened to each switch, and they all seem pretty positive, and even when I work them manually you can hear them click. But of course that doesn't rule out that there could be some arcing on the contacts. Anyway, I'm going to now put this back together and test it and see if it works again. But just to emphasize the importance of keeping records, there's some things I've written here that I'd never remembered had this not been available to me. And of course, circuit diagram is vital. I don't do anything without the relevant circuit diagrams, so I can refer to it. So let me put this back together and then we'll test it. Well, I thought I'd give you a close-up of what I think is the culprit switch. So there it is, close-up. Can I just mention at this stage that because it's an AC that it's switching, you should never ever operate this switch when the amplifier is in operation, because that will cause an arc in these switches, and that could damage the contacts. So select the mode you want to use. I prefer AB. Use it. If you want to change mode, switch the amplifier off, change it, and then switch it back on again. I'm going to turn it on. A few seconds. There we go.
You put on a uniform to fight the Civil War.
I'll have to turn it down again, but it came on immediately with no speaker clunks. What I'm going to do now is turn it off, and I'm going to zoom in on the relay protection, on the protection circuit board and the relay, which clicks in and out. And this initially, before I cleaned it this time and repaired the dodgy circuit joints on this transistor, it was very loose to touch. And when I took the board out, it was basically the PC track had come away from the board itself, and so it was flopping about. I've kind of repaired that and remade the joints to stabilize it all up. Now, whether that had anything to do with the fault, I don't know. I've also cleaned this switch again, which seemed to be the problem, and it's working well again. So yeah, deja vu to have this back and working on it yet again. This is the second time this amplifier has been on my bench, and with a similar fault, and it's down to the class A and normal switch. Now, this amplifier in its normal mode works in class AB, which is much more efficient than class A, and you'd have to have a very keen ear to detect the difference. But I just want to talk a little bit about this switch and why I think it's causing the problem, howbeit after 4 years of operation. Well, I've sorted the problem again on this amplifier. I did manage to blow one of the 7 amp fuses in the process, but that's now been replaced. But it's to do with the last time it was to do very much with the dirty contacts on the operation switch, which switches the amplifier from class A to class AB, although this is just marked normal. Now, class A amplifiers should be, well, they're not as efficient because the amplifier is working flat out even when there's no signal applied. It does eliminate any crossover distortion, but you'd have to have a very good ear, very good input, and very, very good speakers to notice the difference. Also, it draws more current. The class AB is the ideal position to be in. It's more efficient, and you would hardly hear the sound quality degrade. However, the problem is this: if you switch this switch while the thing is working, while you've got power on, you can get arcing on the contacts, which is what has been happening, I believe. Now, although it's been 4 years ago since I mended this thing and cleaned the contacts, I don't know what's been happening between. So if you're going to switch between normal or class AB and class A mode, please depower the amplifier before you do it. If you don't, these contacts at the back here will arc and they will degrade, and you will get the kind of thump and the delayed start of the amplifier when you turn it on. So that's just a little word of warning. If you have one of these, please turn it off before you use this switch. It's all cleaned up now, it's ready to go, it's working really well. I'm quite envious of the owner because it's a lovely amplifier, and it's ready really for me to put back together. I might just give this switch a little bit of a more squirt. It's definitely turned off now, so I can do that. I might just give it a little bit more of a clean in case that's what's been happening. Also, if it's not used for a while, when you do switch it, you can get contact degradation. So there it is. That's the Yamaha CA802, and a very nice beast it is. I'll just turn it round for you so you can see the back of it. The inputs are many, as you can see. You've got a huge choice. What am I doing? You've got a huge choice of inputs here, and two auxiliaries, tuner, phono, two phonos, tape, and outputs, and various other things, and two sets of speaker connectors to it. So it's a nice, a really nice amplifier. Turn it right around the other way for you to see, and it's a chunk of a thing. I'm just very dubious about dropping it, or if it's falling over and wrecking my fingers. That's one of the fuses I had to replace, because in fault finding it I accidentally shorted one of the connections. However, it's all now working, it's fine, and it's a really lovely amplifier. Carrying it around is a bit of a problem, but you'll have to be very careful with it because of its extreme weight. So there we go. That's the amplifier. Nearly back together, but be aware that there's no actual markings on these switches, so you have to make sure that the toggle switches are in the right positions. Have I done that right? Yes. Before you actually fit them on, and the little screws are underneath. I use one of these devices from my invaluable socket set here, which is very good, and you can find every screw, and they're not easy to fit. You've got to get the right direction and in the right position. So that's done. The reason I'm showing you this is that the tone control and volume control, unless you're aware of how to get this off to remove this front panel, there are two keys in this control. It's a bit over engineered, I think, but there we go. So that one goes on, and inside perhaps this needs to be a little bit more free. I don't know. Be careful you don't pull them too far, because they will jump out, and then you spend most of your time trying to realign them. Right, that needs to go in a little bit more, I think. That's it. Now that's in, and then access is through here, and unless you know that, it's not an easy thing to fit. That's one. That's two. Just check the other one again. There you go, that's them done. And then you can pop on this rather heavy volume control. It's really very well engineered, and that goes there, and then you can have the independent volume and and balance control, which is fitted there. So that's it done. Now all I have to do is do a little test on it before I reassemble. The test will be very short because of copyright reasons, but let's get it connected up to a sound source and see that it works. Well, the machine is reassembled. Made sure all these switches are in the correct position. This is all working, and this operation, the class A B switch, is in normal mode. So I'm going to switch it on, and let's get some audio going first. I can only play a very tiny bit because of copyright problems, but let's do it, and let's switch it on. It comes in right away.
Slowing down the tune. Never liked it fast.
So that's just a little bit of Leonard Cohen, of course, but it came on right away, no distortion, and it didn't clunk the speakers when it came in. So I'm really quite pleased with that, and I'm pleased because I've actually this time, I think, found the fault of using this switch. So let's turn it off, wait a couple of seconds. Now I will put the operation switch to class A, turn it on again, so that's all working absolutely fine. We'll turn it off. All the right clunks happen. Put it back to normal operation, and we're fit and done. So that's the Yamaha amplifier. Right, now I'm going to continue reassembling it, and then I'll be back to you to say goodbye. Well, I guess that's it finished. I've done all I can do with it, and it's running at the moment. The two power amps are feeding at about the right temperature, which is always a good indication when things are going well. It's working on both channels, but the customer is not going to get it back because I'm basically not happy with it. And that stems from the operation switch. It's on module the power the module NA06679, and occasionally when I'm touching it and moving it, I can hear crackles from the micro switches, which is not a good sign. It indicates that they're not really in a good condition, and that they're arcing a bit, and that's because it's probably there's AC, which is on the secondary, as I've explained before, of the power transformer, and that AC, when it's switched, can cause pitting in the switches and indeed destroy them. It's working at the moment, but I'm loath to move this switch at all. It comes on without any bumps or crackles, but I am not happy with the potential of that going wrong again. So I know it's been 4 years since I've done it, and it's lasted out until then, but I don't really want to send it back, or if I do, without the caveat that that operation switch probably needs more work and the micro switch replacing. Spent quite a lot of time on this, and I'm very pleased with the way it sounds, although I can't demonstrate it to you, but I think this video has gone on quite long enough. I will get back when I've resolved this issue with the owner of the amplifier, and whether I can get hold of any of those micro switches. If I can, they're not too difficult to replace, and I would feel happier if that was done. Lovely. Yeah, that's, I can touch that, and they're both exactly the same. Oh, are they? Yeah, they're both exactly the same temperature. But because that switch affects the bias on the power transformer by switching in some and shorting out other connections, it can do a lot of damage to the power supply and indeed the output transistors if it is incorrect. So I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to make some further inquiries about that switch. Now, I don't like ending a repair, especially this kind of repair, without a successful conclusion, but sometimes you get to a point where you're just not happy with things, and I just got that gut feeling that things aren't exactly right, and you know when things are right. You just know it. It's an inbuilt feeling that I have anyway when things are working correctly, and I don't have that feeling with this amplifier. So thank you for sticking with me and for watching it all the way through. It's been a bit long, and hope some of it has been useful to you. So I'm going to say goodbye for this video. I will come back to this and I will update you on it, but I'm going to say goodbye to this video, and thank you for watching, and as always, take care.